Okay, let's go.
He wants to jump.
1,000 cars. Sir, you have 1,000 cars.
I don't think I'd attempt to try this stunt.
Or we owe this horsepower to Uncle Sam.
Too many cars.
Car. Roses would be.
Like I put my beer belly on it.
If you can't immediately tell somebody how many cars you have.
You'll really give those uppity yuppies something to think about.
Stay on the bar. Don't go off the bar with your Bronco.
1980 Volvo horns, what's right? I want a man's coolant.
And he's like, oh, I thought it'd be small. It's for a small car. And I'm like, yeah, but it's still an automatic transmission. They're never going to be light.
It's definitely going to have to crash.
Starting off with Brad buying another car.
That's the West. Internet.
Is this a Nigerian oil print?
I also wish you drove a tan Camry.
Anyways,
Anyway,
that's a
horrible,
very
horrible podcast content.
very
Talking about a picture.
inside joke.
It loves to be driven hard.
Welcome to another episode of Auto Off Topic. What's up, Brad?
Andrew, not much. How are you this lovely Thursday evening?
I feel like that's a standard answer, not much, because there is a lot of stuff going on. Or has gone on.
Did somebody say not much?
You said not much.
I already forgot. That's how much of a mind sieve I have. This is going to be a banner episode. We have a banner episode that doesn't have a guest or a deep topic, but a banner episode nonetheless because of everything that's happened in our automotive sphere since last time we all chatted.
Another good episode of Project Car updates, among other things.
Yeah, mostly that.
Yeah, not really any Project Car down dates. All updates.
I mean, if you want to get deep in the weeds, I could probably come up with something for a down date, but we'll stay away from that. Overall, we're doing pretty good.
No, because it's car season here, and we talked about. I mean, we'll just get right into it. We talked about the Volvo got on the truck before the last episode. It was like Monday of last week, and it showed up Sunday evening, which was surprising.
Most excellent. It was surprising. He didn't give you a heads up.
No, I didn't expect it to come that fast.
Okay, how much of a warning did you get that it was coming?
Oh, he called me Friday, actually.
Oh, okay, that's pretty good then.
Yeah, the shipper. So it's weird. I needed to find shipping, right? So I've done it before through UShip, and that's what you said to use. I did it from UShip for the Montero. And then it's like UShip is a website, but then there's shippers on there that bid for your job, and then apparently those companies can also hire third parties.
So most of those shippers on there are brokers.
Yeah.
That's how it works. So because the main factor of it is if you have a truck with, I don't know how many spots are on one of those trucks, 10 spots, 11 spots, or however many there are.
Something like that.
14 spots, I don't know. But nonetheless, if you have a truck with 12 spots on it and you're a single owner operator, it's hard for you to individually come up with a route that makes sense to load your truck up, go across country, and unload your truck all within the same area.
Yeah.
That site puts all of that together. So the site puts it together, and then the broker bids on the jobs and then bids them out to their drivers. And they know the general route of their drivers that they work with. So the particular guy, I'm blanking on his name. I wrote it down somewhere.
Doran.
Doran?
Doran.
D-O-R-A-N? Or
D-O-R-I-N. Doran.
Yeah. Super nice guy. Super professional. I liked him a lot. Yeah. He's obviously an owner-operator, and he works with the company that we used. But the bonus now is He runs Boston to Arizona all the time. He actually lives about 3 miles from me.
Yeah, he said about
Um,
once a month. He told me. I asked him.
Yeah. So
And
that
then-
means that we can bid directly through him and skip all the middlemen and save a few $100s.
Maybe even more than that. He saw what I paid, and he's like, "You paid that much?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, I would have done it for a lot less." I'm like, "Well, bud, I didn't know how to get a hold of you before."
Right. Yeah, that's a thing. And the last time I shipped cars from Massachusetts to here, I tried to get a hold of that particular truck driver, but I wanted to get a hold of that truck driver once he got out here, but I didn't like him. He basically showed up at my house and started talking politics, and because I didn't agree with him, he basically told me I was an idiot and not to talk to him anymore. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't even tell you what my political opinion was. I just didn't want to engage with you right now. So it was interesting. So I didn't wind up ever using him again. And then the one before that was not a local driver. So this is the first time I've actually gotten a local driver who's been good. And I'm pretty stoked on that because I have some cars that have to come out here still. So
Yeah, and I actually, our friend Chris was looking at a car in Colorado. He called him, but he doesn't do Colorado. I'm like, all right, well, it was worth a shot.
hey, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Colorado's not really a pass-through state between Phoenix and Boston. So it
I don't
seems
know.
like that's
I don't know
mostly
what
his
his
route.
routes were. If he just goes here to there once a month, maybe he goes, because there's people that live in the northern west that go south to, like Yuma.
Sure.
For the for the seasons, the snowbirds.
Yep, absolutely.
So,
But nonetheless,
maybe
it's
that's possible. But
yeah, it's worth an ask. But if he doesn't do it, he doesn't do it, and we'll find somebody else. So, but yeah, I'm
Yeah.
stoked to have found him, and I'm gonna have him bring some cars out here. I think probably on his next run. So
I because he did a lot of work for that car because it wasn't running.
Yep.
And he wasn't really complaining to me. He was just telling me that he did a lot of work for it. I had already planned. Like I had gone to the bank and I got 100 for him.
sure,
I threw him
Yeah,
a
that's a
little
good
hundo.
yeah, I'm sure he appreciated it.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I usually tip the drivers, except for the guy that yelled at me for not wanting to engage in his political conversation. So he didn't get a tip.
And
Here's your tip.
like,
Stop talking politics. You get a tip.
It was good. He had it right on the back of the truck. He put the ramps down, rolled it. He's like, "I'm gonna roll it. You want it in the driveway?" I was like, "Yep." He's like, "All right, it's gonna start rolling, and then you need to push." I was like, "Okay." So we got it right in the driveway.
Yep.
He's like, "You don't want it any further?" I was like, "No, I'll go down the rest of the driveway. Right at the top's good."
And
So,
thankfully, the brakes work. So
the brakes do work. Those were not
Yeah.
leaking. Was probably fuel out of the overflows or something.
yeah, I knew it
they
wasn't
feel
brakes.
really
The brakes
solid.
work fine.
Yeah.
The e-brake works decently as well. It could probably use an adjustment to hold a little bit tighter, but it does hold.
It feels
So-
pretty good.
It was odd to me that the e-brake was on the left side of the seat, like a Porsche 944 or 911.
Yeah, like I think it's early European stuff.
Yeah,
And
I'd
I
never
think-
seen it on anything outside of a Porsche or a Ferrari.
When I'm looking through parts catalogs, there's a mid-year switch. I think it goes to the center for later cars.
Yep. Well, I know like 240s are in the center, so I just assumed it was
Yeah.
similar, but it's on the left side. But whatever.
So these 140s, do we talk about them or what's he got?
So I was going to say, now that you have the car there, are you still stoked on it, or do you want to send it back and stick me with it because I said it was something you'd want?
No, it's fine. And I'll get to it. But I just like a quick aside on 140s. So like this is an early car. It's a 69. So I think they started in 67 and went through 74.
Yeah, I saw some that were saying 66, but I think it's production date of 66.
Yeah.
So I was having a little hard time deciphering what the actual first year was, but we'll say 67 for argument's sake.
Yeah. And it's like, it's a very early, the car feels very 60s or early 70s.
Yep.
And then as you get into the later 140s, they don't have that nice aluminum grille. They get the plastic grille. The dash actually changes to something that looks more like out of a 240. and the shifter actually moves further down the console, so it's
Okay.
more like a modern car.
Yeah, this is more of like an
And-
Alpha style way up under the dash.
Yeah, it's very like 60s, very kind of Italian,
Yep.
kind of style, European, and yeah. Then I think the e-brake switches to the middle.
Yeah,
But-
I know that your car is like the year to get, because I think the next year goes to the plastic grill, and your year is the first year of an alternator versus a generator.
Yeah,
So 69 is the year to get.
which I realized I was looking it over. The bracket's broken, but I'll just order one because you can get them, so no big deal.
Also, yours is the last year, I think, of the small taillights,
Yep, which
which
look
is
a lot
super
better.
cool.
The little
Yep, super cool.
thin,
looking.
yeah. So yeah, it's a pretty nice car. I would, as we say, the cliche, it has good bones, right?
Yep.
It's definitely, you're right. It definitely has a cheap paint job on it, which is unfortunate
Right.
because it's
Well, it is and it isn't.
yeah,
I think that as you start to clean the car up and enjoy the car, it's not out of the realm, and I have some connections still there on the East Coast to get a slightly better cheap paint job if you ever wanted to. I think would probably be the way to go, because it already has a cheap paint job, so you might as well
yeah.
just do it again. Or it's a great car to learn how to do some other stuff on.
Yeah,
Whether
I'll
you
probably
vinyl
leave
wrap
it
or paint
for
it
quite a
or-
while.
Yeah, I'd go through the rest of it and just enjoy it.
Yeah, because
So.
the thing that's a bummer is it's well known original Volvo paint is very thick and durable, and you can tell where this is starting to flake off in places, which is kind of annoying.
So if it ever gets to a bad point too, I was thinking with your car, one of the things that could be done is the original Volvo paint underneath might be salvageable in most of it, except where repair work was done. And you might only have to get some spot repairs done. There's a potential that paint could come off. Because where it is coming off, it doesn't look like the undersurface was prepped too much.
No,
So-
like it like where it flakes off, it's like white paint. You're like, all
Yeah.
right, it's not even primer.
Yeah. So there's definitely and yeah, again, we knew that going into it, the paint was not great.
Yeah,
So that's part of the reason the car was, it certainly didn't cost what a market value of one of them costs. So
Oh, I'm sure though that if this car was on Bring a Trailer, people would have charged a lot more money for it, even with the funky paint job.
yeah, you would have paid a lot more for it if it got outside of Facebook Marketplace for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
'cause
think
it's
I
not-
think for something that has just some minor stuff like that, like paint job is not minor, but it's not so bad that it's uncomfortable to be seen in. And I think that as it patinas, you'll be able to like do something with it, whether it be some kind of detail with stripes somewhere or panel repairs. Who knows? But I think that's going to work out. So
I'm not gonna like on a scale of terrible vehicles that I've bought. Well, okay, let's see. Let me rephrase that. On a scale of vehicles I bought, from worst to nicest, nicest being the brand new cars that I've purchased.
sure.
The worst car I've ever purchased was the '89 Montero.
Yep.
So this is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's more complete than say the Galant. I would say it's pretty similar in condition to your Talon when you got it.
Yeah, maybe.
The Talon had some questionable paint areas. It didn't run quite right. And it needed fiddling and adjusting from just being.
Yeah,
Sat
but it
for a
was
long
all
time.
original. This
Sure.
has some weird things done to it.
Sure.
I gotta go through the. I noticed all the stuff is in there for the trunk, but
Yeah,
like
all
the
the-
mat, the rubber mat is like folded up. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna leave it in the driveway in the sun so I can like
Yeah,
unfold
let
it.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. I forgot that you had told me. I almost ordered oil filters, but there's a whole box of them in the back.
Yep. Name brands ones too.
And,
Good stuff.
An extra starter that apparently the starter on this little 2-liter 4-cylinder is like a Chevy 454 starter.
Is it the correct one for the car? I didn't compare that.
I don't know. Did you see it? It's huge.
I saw it. It's huge. Yeah.
It looks like the same size as the one that's in the car. So it's also
Yeah, I
painted
didn't-
red. I was like,
I didn't closely look at it, but I knew it was in there. I didn't leave anything out of the trunk that was in the trunk, so except for like actual trash I threw away.
I found a can of vinyl paint. I was like, oh, that explains the door cards.
Yep, that's an easy fix.
Replace the door cards.
You could paint them. You could paint them black.
They're kind of flaking and gross. I don't know if it's worth it. It might make
No.
them even worse.
I think if you scuff them down properly, you could probably paint them black, even if just for the time being. So,
Yeah, I just don't want them to look like a when you're on a ship and it's just been painted over and painted over and painted over.
right. Well, I think
So-
overall the car has good bones. It's you could spend 3 times what you're into the car for and still be less than buying one on Bring a Trailer. So I think that's positive, and I don't think it's going to cost you 3 times what you're into it for to make it drivable and usable. So
No, the most
think
expensive
that
thing
you're
was
good.
been the shipping, actually.
Yep.
And it wouldn't. Maybe it would have been a little less if it had run, but who knows?
marginally, maybe
It's-
$200.
Yeah, I looked inside. I popped that door panel off of the window that's the regulator that's not working.
Yep.
Or broken. I think it's just a regulator. There's like, I got to look at it more closely because there's only one for like $15 on eBay.
So
Just buy
what it looked like to me, the regulator works perfectly. There's a metal channel that the window sits in that has worn and rusted over time, and that appears to me to be broken. So I think that metal channel actually runs in the regulator. If I had the car for longer and was going to do more to it, I was going to take off the driver's side and just compare how it works. But I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. But you can see Naomi's handiwork in there with her carpentry to make the wooden holder for you.
See, it looks
So-
like to me, it looks like the end of the regulator broke off where it attaches to the window.
I'm not sure. I thought it was the piece that maybe it's part of the same thing. I don't know. I thought it was the metal channel itself that the window sits in. That was my thought process. But
I don't know.
anyway,
Gotta look at it.
regardless, you'll figure it out. It's in your driveway now. So,
Yeah, I bought a battery.
Okay.
They're stupidly expensive.
Yeah. There.
So annoying how expensive.
I think we
batteries
just
are.
talked about that recently.
Oh my god!
So that is annoying.
It's a Group 24 battery. $194.
Yeah.
For just a basic lead acid battery.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I've seen them for less, but I'm sure you didn't buy the
They're not
bottom of the barrel
around
one.
here.
So, well, you got to
It's
go a
like
little
plus or
outside the
minus-
box thinking. Did you go to Costco?
Yeah, I think we have a BJ's membership.
Okay. Because I know Costco is usually cheaper than like Napa. So,
I also wanted to buy the battery cables from Napa that they sell. It's very convenient. They have pre-made battery cables that
Sure.
work well for old cars.
sure.
Because
But
I
yeah, I
was just
think-
looking at it now, and it's the you've got the positive cable. It goes down to the starter. That's fine. I'll replace that because the cable ends are like those weird bolt-on, crummy ones.
Yep. Yeah, somebody replaced it recently, it looked like.
And then the ground cable I just noticed goes under the battery tray, doesn't connect to the body. It connects directly to the engine.
Okay.
I was like, oh, that's probably not great.
Yeah, it should be isolated.
It's probably not helping anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
It should go down to the body and then over to the engine.
Yep.
Because you're making a hard assumption that the engine is somehow grounded to the rest of the chassis while
Yeah.
it sits on rubber engine mounts.
Yeah, my guess is there's another ground wire somewhere off the engine, but who
Somewhere.
knows?
It's probably like
Yeah.
an 18 gauge ground wire, though.
Yeah.
It's probably not a heavy ground cable like the
Yeah,
battery cable.
there's some questionable wiring in that car. I noticed from the get go, but in looking at it, when I first looked at it, it looks like it's all like superfluous. It doesn't look like it's cut too deep into the factory harness. It's all to add the horns, the fog light, the aftermarket rear window defroster, a couple other things that were kind of tacked on were wired in a questionable manner, but the original wiring harness seems to be pretty intact. So
Yeah, and whatever. That's my thing. I repair wiring harnesses on cars.
yeah, you love doing
It's,
that. You built the whole harness from scratch for like a lot. So
There's some weird wiring. I get rid of those horns. Somebody we discovered on the Discord, somebody actually figured it out that the bolts that are in the inner fender are for more horns.
yes. On top of the factory horns plus the 2 air horns, there are like 6 mount bolts on the inner fender well on the passenger
Yeah,
side
those are in the trunk.
for the La Cucaracha horn that's in the trunk.
Yeah,
Which, while I don't recommend you install the La Cucaracha horn in the car, I do recommend that you take a video of it working, because I forgot to do that before.
I was planning on doing that with the new $194 battery is gonna
Yes.
power my La Cucaracha horns.
Yes, that's how you gotta check the battery's charge. Hardwire
Yeah.
the La Cucaracha horns to it. So
And the what else? It's yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good car. The shift knob was just jammed on with a piece of rubber hose.
cool.
So I was like, why is this not turning off or spinning off?
I mean,
And
it was
just
it was terrible
yanked on
anyway.
it,
So
and it pulled right off. So I figured out what the thread pitch was and the size. I ordered an EPCO shift knob for it.
excellent,
First mod.
excellent. I like it. Second mod, make it run.
So yeah, listen, it's gonna look good too.
Yeah,
It's the classic white muscle car one, happens to be the correct shift pattern.
with the old style font.
Yep, it's their their white muscle car one.
Nice. Yeah, it's the best
Yeah.
one. That's the best one. Yeah, we talked about the EPCO shift. Did we talk about this on podcast? I don't think so.
No, we talked about
They're-
the Discord, but I'm not sure if we
Yeah,
talked about
they're
the
a
podcast.
local to Massachusetts bowling ball company that
Yep.
also makes shift knobs because they're the same
Yep.
material. So it's kind of neat. So, it turned out that almost everybody in the Discord, it seemed, has an EPCO shift knob on something.
A lot of Massachusetts people.
Yeah, the 8-ball in the Starion shift knob, 8-ball shift knob, is an EPCO shift knob as well. So now both those.
So I was like,
EPCO
I got to
shift
go with a
knobs.
Massachusetts shift knob.
Yeah, absolutely. That's super cool. It's cool that a local company makes that stuff. So
The seats in the car, the front seats,
garbage.
horrendous.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that somebody took out I guess like factory Volvo seats are generally like really, really nice.
Yep.
It's unfortunate that they're missing. So I got to figure that out.
Well, I was talking about your car with our other Volvo friend, and he said that he might be interested in those seats if they're both in the same as 240 seats, and he might be able to give you a set of 240 seats, maybe in exchange. So,
But he's in Arizona.
no, he's there in New Hampshire.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to Jordan. I'm not sure if they'll fit because it's there's an interesting crossover. These seats the bases are different, but supposedly if you find like a 75 164 that started to have the same floor pan as a 240, like those seats will, like if you take that base, it'll work in this car because it's, I don't know.
Yes, nothing's more common than a mid-70s 164.
Yeah. So
But-
I'll figure it out. It's, and because the window
I'll
is
keep an eye on the yards
down,
around
left
here.
down.
See if I can. I'll keep an eye on yards around here. See if I can find that generation car. He's only the seat bases, right?
Yeah, that's all I need. Because then they're like, oh, I know what it is. Like that year, 75, the bases match the floor pan of the 140, but
the
the
seat
bases
base of
were
the-
adapted to meet the upcoming 240 seats
Okay,
because
that's
the
what we're looking
240
for.
came out in 75. So there's like the 164 and the 240 crossover 1 year, I guess.
Okay. Well, that's interesting to know. And I'll keep an eye out because I'm more likely probably to find one of those in a yard here than there. So.
And then there's lots of 240 seats kicking around.
Yep. And they're good seats too.
Yeah.
So. Excellent. Or if you find a set of 140 seats, who knows? I mean, there are Volvo people everywhere. So
yeah, I gotta start looking around. I'm gonna wait till the car runs and I'll figure that out.
Sure. Yeah, they're not so bad you can't drive the car with them.
No, they're just really ugly.
Yep.
Just purely just need to figure out why the thing won't run before I spend any money on seats.
Right. On shift knobs. What?
No, that it needed the shift knob. I couldn't deal with that shift knob. I can deal with the seats. I couldn't deal with that shift knob.
Yeah, it was a very early 2000s like Pep Boys kind of deal. Was not good.
I did remove the portholes.
Also early 2000s Pep Boys accessories.
That looks much better without them.
Good. And they came off with pulling the
plastic
paint.
razor blades and a little rubbing alcohol.
And they came off without pulling the paint?
Yeah, mostly.
Good.
One of them kind of pulled some paint, but mostly got
Excellent.
it. It's good enough. I mean, the paint damage is on the same fender with the ding in it, with the white mark in it. So it's like
Perfect.
whatever.
Yeah. And again, you could probably get some red touch-up paint that would not be perfect, but would look better than the white showing through.
It's not white. It's a different shade of red.
Okay. So it's not too obvious. I'm talking about the white on the bottom, and anywhere there is, the white is showing through. You know, you could take the car down to like the auto body supply store in Salem and have them perfect match the paint and just kind of go in the edges, just so it wouldn't be so stark. It would look a little better. But
yeah. But what else? I mean, it's a neat car. I found the air cleaners in the trunk. Turns out those Mikuni air cleaners. How much do you think those are?
Because you're bringing it up, they're probably $100 a piece.
Yeah, they're made by K&N. They're like $100 to $150 a piece.
Yeah, they were on the car when I got it. They were in the trunk because I was working on the carburetors.
Yeah.
So the only thing that mounts them on is just the hose clamp. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I almost forgot to put them in the car because they were on my workbench when the car got picked up.
Yeah. I would have made you ship them to me.
I 100% would have. Yes.
They were.
Yeah.
No, it's a pretty cool car. It already looks better without the portholes on it. There's a bunch of duct tape marks because that window was down. I was able to spray WD-40 on those, and all that adhesive has come off.
Excellent.
Without any
Goo
damage.
Gone if the rest needs to come off, maybe. But
I don't know why I was into Goo Gone. WD-40 does the same thing. You already have some in your house.
Goo Gone smells nicer.
Yeah.
That's why I like Goo Gone.
So I just use WD-40. It's funny. It's
Goo
like
Gone
that's
smells
the best
nicer,
thing.
and it makes everything not as covered in oil afterwards.
Yeah, you wash the car afterwards.
Depends on where you're using the Goo Gone.
But yeah, I was looking a little bit at the suspension. It's got a lot of like Alaska mud. I don't know. I gotta clean it some more. But I saw a little yellow peeking through in the shocks, so it's got Bilsteins.
Okay, that's good.
Like HD Bilsteins, yeah. Which I was gonna do anyways, so I was like, that's cool.
Yeah, and they're not blown out. The car, I did the bounce test when I was first, looking at it, and there's no like extra wandering around. So they seem like they're in good shape.
I haven't got close enough to the springs. I'm assuming they're IPD lowering springs. That's probably most common considering all the IPD stickers on the car.
The car is definitely lowered, and the springs are not cut. So
nope.
My assumption is also that they're IPD parts, and it looks like there are sway bars under there. I don't remember.
Maybe it's got poly sway bar links, so maybe there's sway bars done.
I think it's at least a front bar if I remember from looking at it.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. So
I mean, basically, what's cool is that you got the car for less than you intended to spend on a Volvo. It already has the suspension you would have bought anyway. It already has an upgraded carburetor setup.
Yep.
It already has a pair of Hella 500s in the front bumper. So it's got a bunch of cool stuff you would have bought anyway. So I think that it's a
I-
positive purchase.
I don't know what all the toggle switches are. There's a lot of toggle switches. There's only
So
two
I
lights
was
in the front.
going through them when I first got it. One of them does operate the lights. One of them operates the external defrost on the rear deck.
Okay.
One of them, there was one other one that I figured out. I don't remember what it was now. It was something dumb. Maybe it was the radio.
Or
I
the
think one of
horns?
them was the horns. Yep, that's what it was. One of them was the horns. So the rest of them, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, and there's like LED lights above some of them. I don't know. I'll try to find a dash piece, a lower dash piece, because somebody cut it up to add the tack. That's when you look at it, it's like that metal strapping. And wood screws are holding it to the dash. Like, cool.
Excellent.
Even though it's got like the thing you can just zip tie it to the column.
Yeah, or hose clamp.
Yeah.
The column in that car, is it round though, or is it square?
It's square, but I don't know. I could have.
You'll find a way to
could have thought about it a little harder.
Yeah.
Um,
I forget if the tack is good
and then-
looking or not, but
Yeah, and I get rid of that weird. It's got stereo with house stereo wire and some wire nuts. My favorite, classic. It's got all the classic hallmarks of a terribly neglected car.
not neglected, but worked on and cared for by the wrong person.
Yeah,
Like they didn't think they were neglecting it, but they were neglecting it. So it's just that like car enthusiasm without direction.
and then I gotta vacuum the inside because it's full of dust and bird feathers.
Yeah, that's weird to me. I saw that in the back seat and I was like, huh, that's interesting. Wanted a pillow exploded back there.
Also,
but-
I don't know why the seatbelts are red and the fronts are black.
my guess is it was replaced at some point. The fronts are probably worn out and they bought black ones.
I don't know.
Or no, the red would be aftermarket. Who knows? Maybe the back ones were just sun baked and they put red ones in. I don't know. The good news is though, is I have access now. I know of a company that you send your seatbelts out to them, and they will rebuild them with whatever color strapping you want.
It's right here in Chicopee, Mass.
Oh, is it? I didn't know
Yeah.
what it was.
Yep.
But you know about it too, then.
Our buddy Joe had, I think on his Corvette, he had him swapped out, different color.
Okay. Very cool. So.
Yep.
Excellent.
Because I'm not sure if it's supposed to have 3 points in the back. Or
It's
it
a
just has
Volvo,
flat.
so I think it does.
Yeah, I don't see him though.
Volvo was the first one to do 3 points in the back. I know that my 71 NSU has got 3 points in the back.
Yeah.
So,
I got to dig into it and look into it.
or maybe it's supposed to have lap belts, and that's why it has red ones, because somebody put them in.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I could dig into it. But overall, I didn't take the spare out. The other side, the spare tire well on the other side looks pretty solid.
Yep.
It looks like there was some work in there. Maybe the car was hitting that corner, and that's why it was.
No, there was definitely some rust
Painted?
repair done in the rockers. It wasn't enough to worry too much about it. It's just a lower section of the rockers had some repair in it, but it's not too bad because I was able to put a magnet across the whole way and it stuck. So it's not
Yeah.
like it's a missing hole that somebody fiberglassed over. It's just that some repair was done down there, and the car's 50 some odd years of life. So
Yeah. There's an amp, I think, in the back. I don't know. I pulled the masking tape off of it. I didn't quite look too closely at it.
under the rear deck.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw it, but I didn't look too closely at it. That would make sense, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. All the radio stuff's got to go in the trash. I
It
think
is.
that you should rip out all of the aftermarket wiring and start fresh. So
Oh, I plan on just cutting it out.
Yep.
And then figuring out what's missing.
thankfully, at the end of the day, it's a 1969 Volvo, so all it needs to run is power and ground of the starter. So,
Yeah,
and I
I've
think
got the wiring diagrams here. They're
I
like one
think
page.
one of the other things that's in there, I think it has the points have been taken out, and it has electronic guts in the distributor, which is another positive mod.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I know it does because it has that like MSD box or whatever on there, and that controls the points are gone, and it has like a shutter wheel and pickup coil in there. So,
Oh, weird. So it's not even a Petronix. It's just that weird MSD thing.
correct, which is fine. That's what they would have done, in the 90s probably. So it's the same
Yeah.
setup. Same setup as in my brown Corolla. So, but it's good. I mean, you could probably simplify it with a Petronix, but if it works,
Yeah,
it
we'll just
works.
hide it.
Yeah, but even then, I mean, if it works, it works. It's a little hot rod part. It's probably a hotter spark than a Petronix, I'd guess, because it's externally powered. But who knows? I'm sure there's some advantage to it that I'm not aware of. But it does work. The car does make spark. So for the meantime, I wouldn't stress too much about it.
Yep.
I was
No,
able to
it's
yeah. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's a cool car. I've been trying to just clean it because I haven't had a chance to like really dig into why it doesn't run.
Yeah, you haven't had a weekend yet, so hopefully, maybe this weekend you'll have some time to dig a little deeper. Time will tell. Awesome. Well, that, Andrew, is a positive update.
Yep.
I'm glad you have your.
And then while I was waiting for it, I threw a temp switch in the Galant. And then I took the old one. I was curious. I was like, why? Like, these fail a lot. It's weird. And it was definitely an OEM one. And I've had multiple OEM ones. Like, I've gone through at least 2, maybe 3 in that car.
when
So
I
this one
daily
put in there as an
drove,
NTK.
when I daily drove a Mitsubishi, I had one of those in the glove box because it broke all the time. So
It's weird because the one in the Talon is 30 something years old. It's never been replaced.
yeah, I went through them and everything, and it's when they fail, the car runs miserably when it's cold. So,
Or when it's hot.
yeah,
I've had them fail where they don't want a cold start, like the Montero. And then the Galant, it failed on the hot end, so it didn't want a hot refire.
okay. I always had
So
them fail on the cold end.
Yeah, you don't notice it. You notice it less in the hot refire because it just kind of idles kind of weird at first, and then it usually smooths out.
Well, if you remember the flat side Starion, what the first rally I took it to, the morning of camp when I started up, everybody was making fun of me because it was barely running and it was sputtering and idling and sputtering at idle and smelled horrible, and everybody was making fun of the way the car ran and looked instead of just the way it looked. And that's what happened. It failed on that trip, and I did not have a spare. So
yeah, and then I was curious, so I threw it in hot water just to see what the resistance was. The resistance goes down as it gets hotter, and the book had a couple specs for the resistance at 104 different degrees. So 104 degrees was easiest to check, and the resistance was way off. It was not reading correctly, which jived with some of the data logs I had that were showing the car had been running and the thing was showing 130 degrees as a coolant temp. I was like, that seems a little weird. Maybe the sensor's not good. And then eventually the other day, I think I talked about I was driving it with the fuel injector cleaner in it, which also maybe it had a dirty injector or something, but it's not sputtering. It's running fine now. But the check engine light came on. I got it to stay on enough to pull the code. So that's how I ended up replacing that. Because the factory ones are not made anymore. So I bought 4 NTKs from Rock Auto.
were the factory ones NTKs anyway?
Probably.
So it's essentially going to be a factory one, just in a private label packaging.
Yeah. And they're only $10. So
Excellent. I
Waiting
should
for
probably
some seals so I can do the fuel injectors on that thing, upgrade them. Waiting for them to come in from UAE, but otherwise I'm happy that the car's running now. So
I should probably pick up some of those NTK ones too if they're going to be hard to find in the future.
you might as well buy some and throw them in the toolbox because they're only $10. And literally, when you look up like the part number, like I just did it from the OEM part number, I crossed it on Rock Auto, which I'm not sure a lot of people know you can do that. You can put an OEM number right in the top, and if it crosses, it'll show you the matching part. So that sensor is like, Mitsubishi's like 86 to like 97 or something.
I think
lists a ton of
predates
models.
86 because it's the same, I think, in my Sapporo too. Or maybe the part
Yeah, it's a
number doesn't
2-pin
actually
sensor.
cross, but yeah, it goes way back. So,
Yeah.
part of the
It's
reason I'm
different
surprised
in
they
the
don't make
Montero. That's got a different connector, but yeah, handy to have around. They're easy to change too.
the earlier Montero. Well, the 4-cylinder Montero had the same one too. So I don't know if the earlier V6 one did or not, but
Well, it's really only the fuel injected cars.
yeah, you're probably right because the other ones had a.
What would it have to do with the carb? There's
Yeah,
nothing
but
to
my
do with the carb.
Sapporo's got a temp sensor in just like that. That's a carb car. It's
Does
a
it have
weird.
it for the
It's a weird carb car though. It's got all kinds of emissions stuff on it, so maybe it's something to do with.
Yeah, it might be for AC.
Yeah, could be. It's definitely in there though. So
Because there's a third temp sensor on a DSM and a Galant VR4 that is for the AC. That's the one on the very top of the thermostat outlet.
okay,
That one, if the coolant is too hot, it won't let you turn the AC on.
maybe that is what it is in the Sapporo. Then I have to look.
But
The Sapporo actually has a cold start issue right now, but it's going to be carburetor related. I got to figure out something to do with the choke on that, the electronic choke. It's not quite working.
yeah, I mean, it also has been sitting, so I don't know, run some fuel injector cleaner through it.
No, it's from even before it was sitting. It's part of the
Okay.
reason I had the carburetor off of it already and took it all apart and cleaned it. But it's definitely going to be something to do with the choke. So
Well, speaking of Galants and DSMs, I think you've got some updates.
I do. Like I said, this was going to be a full episode for sure. The Eclipse runs,
Yes.
and there was much rejoicing. So I don't remember what happened as of last week. I think I had discovered the wrong head bolts. Maybe not.
You had.
So my intention was to put the car together this past Saturday. But I got super motivated before that and was like, I'm going to start putting it together now so that if I haven't done finished by Saturday will just be a button it up and call it a day kind of day. And then the head bolts were wrong. So also I had our friend Josh volunteered his time to come by and help out, which I appreciated because he's done these dozens of times and he's really good with the timing belt setup, which is a point of, I guess, nerves for me more than anything else. Like I certainly can figure it out. And now that I've done it with him, I think that if I have to do it again, it will be pretty quickly and pretty easily. It's actually not that hard to do. But I definitely was like, you get that overthinking stage in your head and you decide that, you're going to screw something up. You're going to put the timing belt on, you're going to start the car, and it's going to blow up again. So thankfully he was able to come here for that. But he wound up being here for the whole assembly because the head bolts were wrong when I tried to put it together earlier in the week. Haven't figured out what those head bolts are for. They're definitely not for Mitsubishi because they are not a metric thread. So I don't know what they belong in. Maybe it got crossed with a single cam, second gen Chrysler head but the rest of the gaskets that came in the kit were correct, so who knows. Nonetheless, I got it all put back together. So again, huge thanks to Josh. Check him out. His company, if you're into Monteros, you already know, is Adventure Driven Design. But he also knows all Mitsubishi things. So he came by and we knocked out that in, I'd say from start to finish, including stopping for lunch and making 2 runs to the parts store, was probably about 8 hours. So that's not too bad. Maybe a little bit more, maybe more like 9 hours with all the stops. So that wasn't too bad. We had to make a run to the parts store because where the injectors sit in the rail, where the injector rail sits in the head, the injectors all have a rubber seat on the bottom of them. And when I brought the head to the machine shop, those rubber seats were still in it. And when I got the head back from the machine shop, they were not there.
Oh, see, I just ordered new ones.
I didn't even think about it.
My injectors.
I should have thought about it. I didn't even think about it, unfortunately.
Usually come out with the injectors. Are you talking about the fuel rail spacers or the injector? It's like a donut.
It's a little rubber donut
thing
in the bottom of the injector.
Oh, it didn't come out with the injector. Interesting.
One of them did. 3 of them did not.
Yeah.
And I didn't pick up on it. I must have left them in the head. And what probably that means though is that they were old and hard and weren't sealing very well anyway. So thankfully they're just like Denso injectors, right? So they're fairly universal across probably many cars as far as the external workings of them go. So the local AutoZone had them in stock, the seal kits. And a seal kit includes that seat. It includes 2 different style seats, also lending further credence to the theory they're across the board for a lot of cars. It had that lower seat and had all the seals, so I put new O-rings on all of them and put them all back in, all nice and fresh. So thankfully they had those in stock. They were like $6 a seal kit. It wasn't that big a deal. And the only other thing we had to go to the parts store for was I was out of red Loctite for the crank bolt. So, not the crank bolt, excuse me, the cam gear bolts. So, put some Loctite on those, but I had to go to the parts store for that. So, other than that, it went, there's not a lot to tell. The car went back together correctly. Everything worked out well. The machine shop that did the head work, everything was nice. There was no issues with anything. Car got put back together. It almost fired immediately. The only thing, I had to wait a little bit for the fuel to get back up to the fuel rail. Just, had to prime it a few times. But the car fired right up. The only big issue was, had we thought about it ahead of time, and the fact that the head was reassembled back in February and sat, we probably would have pulled the lifters off and soaked the lifters in oil, because when we started it, they had to bleed out. And they only bleed out, pretty much one at a time. So we had to keep starting it, shutting it off, start it, let it get warm a little bit, shut it off, and just do that a bunch of times until eventually all the lifters have bled out. It doesn't make any noise anymore. So
yeah, there's a procedure where you start it, you bring it to a certain RPM, hold it, and go up and down.
But even then, you only get one lifter done each starting sequence pretty much. So it took a little while, but they're all good now. So there's, like I said, there's really nothing to say. Everything went together nice and easily. Again, huge thanks to Josh, because I certainly could have done it alone, but him being here, he helped out immensely. So that was excellent. And he loves working on Mitsubishis, so it was no brainer for him to come by. The funny part happened at the end of the night. So he came over here to help me, and he was driving his Galant VR4. And he had stated when he left in the morning, it started kind of hard, but it did start, so he didn't think about it and just left. So now it's 10 o'clock at night. We're out in front of my house. My street's pretty quiet. It's not a loud neighborhood at all. And he's trying to start his car, and it won't start. So after all day working on my Eclipse, he goes to get in his car that drove there just fine, and it won't start. So we tried a bunch of different things. We're like, well...
It's your driveway.
Yeah, maybe. We're like, well, maybe the fuel gauge is wrong. Maybe it is empty. You know, the car had been sitting for a while. I don't know. Let's go get a can of gas and see what we can do. And that didn't help. It got to the point where the car would start and sort of idle. If you hit it with a can of ether, it would start, but it wouldn't stay running very well. And then if you put your foot to the floor, it would stumble and die. So we're like, well, maybe there's a clogged fuel filter. Maybe there's a problem with the coolant temp sensor. Maybe there's just kind of like going through everything, trying to figure out what was wrong with the car. Anyway, it was pretty late at this point, and Josh lives close to 45 minutes to an hour away. So we made the call that he would just take the 944 home and leave the Galant here and come back the next day to decipher what the Galant needed. So the next day we had planned on going to Radford Racing School anyway for something I'll talk about in a minute, but he hadn't planned on leaving from here, so we had to figure that out first. So the next morning he showed back up. He brought a few parts with him that could be it. He had a spare ECU, a fuel filter. I think he had a fuel pump with him. Maybe not. A coolant temp sensor. Just a bunch of stuff that could possibly be causing the problem. So the first thing he did was swap in the ECU to see if it was something to do with the ECU. And that didn't make a difference. Then we checked the fuel rail to see if fuel was getting to it, and it was. So we're like, well, there's fuel getting there. Obviously it has spark because it does run, sort of. So it's not that. It's not fuel. It's not spark. So it's something dumb. We eventually pulled the return line off, and no fuel was coming out of it. So we're like, that's weird. Why is fuel getting to the fuel rail, but then not going into the return as we're cranking it? Is the car flooding? It probably shouldn't be, because the injectors are only going to fire so much fuel. But where's the fuel going? Is the fuel pressure regulator busted? Is it leaking down somewhere in the back? What are we missing here? So eventually he pulled the fuel pump out of the tank, and the fuel pump was, you know, the bracket that goes inside those tanks that the fuel pump kind of hangs from?
Yeah.
So the fuel pump itself had come loose from the fitting and was kind of dangling. Mm-hmm. So it was almost like just the pump was working, but it was kind of like just throwing fuel at the pipe to go out of the tank and then not like directly plugged into it. So like there was enough fuel in there that it would go through, but it wasn't building enough pressure to run the car. It would run the car at idle, but that was it. And poorly at best. So the hanger had broken, and the filter sock had come off and been all torn open. So we're sitting there trying to figure out how to get this thing to put back together in the driveway, at least enough to make it work.
Weird. I never heard of the hanger breaking before.
So I think it's an aftermarket fuel pump that didn't quite fit quite right.
Oh.
And it had been zip tied in the beginning. And probably during the course of the rallycross that he ran last weekend, the zip tie had failed. Also, possibly, the zip tie is not rated for being soaked in fuel. And maybe that also helped break it down. So, anyway, we're going through stuff I have in the garage to figure out how to fix this. And obviously I have zip ties, but zip ties are going to cause the same problem again. And the filter sock is destroyed at this point. So we're trying to figure out how to do something with that. I don't know if you remember my saga from, I don't know, probably October of last year with the fuel pump on the Royal Enfield.
I sure do.
And
fit.
The guy that
the guy
sold
told you
it to me was told me it was gonna fit, and everything was fine. Well, it turns out that the fuel filter sock on that pump is almost identical to an early 90s Mitsubishi fuel filter sock. So
Weird.
while it didn't work in a Royal Enfield, we were able to adapt it to a 91 Galant VR4 and managed to fix the Galant with Royal Enfield parts, or not actually, technically, because they're not Royal Enfield parts that were lying around. Put a couple of zip ties on there, and then use some mechanics wire for good measure to kind of hold it all together. And put it all together, and the car fired up and ran perfect. So, all well and good. We were still going to go to Radford after that. Our other friend, Michael from IDR, Italian Design and Racing, was with us that morning at my house because he was bringing his truck and trailer to Radford because he had 2 cars at Radford, and he had modified the trailer to see if he could make them fit on the trailer, and he wanted to try them on the trailer. So we figured what better time to shake down 2 recently broken Mitsubishis than a drive about 30 miles away, 40 miles away, with a guy with an empty car trailer following us. I mean, this is the perfect scenario at this point, right? Like, worst case scenario, we roll over the side of the road and load it up on the trailer. So I think I took a picture and sent it to the Discord and basically said, when shaking down recently repaired Mitsubishis, always bring an empty trailer. So it worked out well. Thankfully, neither of us needed said trailer. We both made it all the way to Radford and all the way back to our respective homes without incident. So put about, I think I've done about 85 miles in the Eclipse since putting it back together. And so far, so good. The car is running excellent. It's running better probably than it did before it broke. One of the things, to go back to the Eclipse, that we discovered when taking it apart is that the pistons are actually domed on top, whereas most 4G63 pistons you see have a flat top. So in doing some research, it turns out that the NA cars from Europe, instead of having the 9-to-1 compression of the American cars, have a domed piston that brings it to 11-to-1.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. Also means that I should run the car on high test all the time. Yeah. Because I always ran it like it was an NA, like a normal NA North American car on regular fuel. And that possibly could have contributed to it not running as well as it runs now. Because with a fresh tank of 90, I think we're at 92 here. I think we have 93. Anyway, the fresh tank of the premium fuel, the car, it ran wonderful. I mean, the car's never run like that. It ran really well. So no weird noises, no anything. But yeah, they have, it's like a domed top on the piston, which also is probably how I wiped out all the valves. Because there's probably even less clearance than there is on the American market ones that sometimes don't ruin all the valves. But it's probably why I ruined all the valves and broke 12 out of 16 guides. So
I have 9-to-1 pistons in the Talon.
9-to-1 is factory though, right?
Nope.
What's factory?
Nope. It's like 8-7 or something to 1.
Okay, so almost 9. So round it up to 9. So
yeah,
but yeah,
I have factory in the Galant, and I have 9-to-1 in the Talon.
So apparently the European NA is 11-to-1.
Yeah,
and I was looking it up. It looks like a naturally aspirated car in the US is 135 horse rated at, and the European ones are rated at 150. So that would be the difference. But yeah, car runs
with that
great.
And first gen DSMs have a really aggressive timing curve, so it'll, if it's got the octane, it'll advance the timing as far as it can go.
Yeah, well,
Which is interesting though, because you don't have a knock sensor.
I do have a knock sensor.
Oh, you do?
Yep.
Oh, interesting.
Yep. That's another difference. the American NA cars don't have a knock sensor, but my car has a knock sensor, probably because it runs 11-to-1 pistons.
Interesting.
Yep. Yeah, but that also means that it was not running ideal on 87.
Yeah. Throw a header on that thing.
You know, I after this discovery, I have these thoughts of throwing a header on it and maybe a
How fun is my G20?
small set of cams.
How good does it sound?
Yeah. So I probably will do a header and keep the stock cat back.
Yeah.
That's the same setup that the Porsche has, and the Porsche sounds ridiculous and revs really quickly with that setup. So my guess is that the Eclipse would have a similar result. But then I'd be tempted to like also slap a set of cams in it. So
nah, you can just, I don't have cams in the G20. You can just, the thing's already together. Don't put cams in it right now.
I'm not going to take it apart right now, but no, I think I am going
header
to
is fine.
shop for a header for the car. I also need to order lower control arms because the bushings are shot and they're rattling around like crazy. So,
Yeah. Well, you can get the white line caster ones.
can you still buy them?
You should be able to.
All right. Well, I was going to buy new control arms, so I have new ball joints. And, yeah, new control arms, so I get new ball joints, and go along with the white line caster ones. So we shall see. But I'm kind of like back in love with the car again. So it was pretty much sold before it blew up, but now it's like maybe I'll hold on to it for a little bit. Maybe I'll do some more stuff to it. We shall see. Yeah, we'll see. It'll be cheaper than buying a new car, right?
Yeah. So, you want to talk about your event or my event?
Your event? What'd you do for an event?
Forenoon Cup?
Oh, that's right, too. The Auto Off Topic event. How could I forget?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I wasn't there.
That's
Yeah,
right.
what'd you guys do this weekend?
So, we have, if you're in the Discord, that's how you get invited to the Forenoon Cup. We only had me, Scott, and Tom. And Tom was nice enough. He's up near Kittery. He's got a old fire station. As
How
his
Ghostbusters of
garage.
him.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to have that type of workshop space. But he knows some back roads up there. Well, we took a nice drive up the coast. It was kind of a relaxed drive. It was just I had the Talon, Scott had a Stylus, and Tom brought a Fulvia.
Yeah, very cool car.
Yeah, so that's what I was talking about. Very 60s. That car has a similar shifter to the Volvo where it's up under the dash.
Yep.
But that car's front wheel drive, which is cool. And it's got that little like V4 in it.
Yeah, no, they're rad cars. They sound really good too.
Yeah, the car sounds really good. So that was really cool. We like drove around. There's some nice. It's a good ride. It was already starting to get kind of busy. It's a good ride pre Memorial Day, because once Memorial Day hits up in that area, everybody's vacationing. It'll be super busy. Then as we got away from the coast, we took a little loop on some back roads. It was just us. That was really fun. Kind of open.
Excellent.
And
Yeah,
it was about a half day.
unfortunately, that particular Forenoon Cup day was just it was tough because there were at least 3 or 4 others that wanted to do it and just couldn't make it that weekend. So I think you said that you're going to try to do more than one this year.
I would like to do a spring, a midsummer, and a fall. I think makes sense.
Yep.
So I need to figure out now the summer one.
I like it. The good news
But,
is though
yeah.
is that route, even in the summertime, post Memorial Day. That's May, right? Yeah.
Labor Day.
Labor Day? No, Memorial Day. Post Memorial Day. May is Memorial Day. May, Memorial.
Yes.
After Memorial Day, that route also is fine
Yeah.
as long as you go early in the morning.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Because
yeah,
that was a
it's,
favorite motorcycle road for me. I used to love doing that coastal run.
Yeah, I actually it was funny. We were at one of the New Hampshire rest stops going up to New Hampshire, and kids love those little pamphlet displays. And Marco grabbed one that had a motorcycle on it, and it was like an official like motorcycle routes of New Hampshire. I was like, oh, that's something new.
That's cool.
That's handy. Good eyes,
Yeah.
kid.
Cool for motorcycles and sports cars.
Yeah. So, I'm thinking something probably mid New Hampshire for the summer. And then I think we're talking something maybe out Western Mass. Maybe we'll try to get everybody out to like Eastern upstate New York is kind of cool in the fall.
Yep. Or even parts of Vermont.
But we'll see. I try to keep them to like a day. So that's like a little bit more than a day.
Yeah, but I'm saying you give everybody enough time and just say, hey, we're going to do an overnight and we're going to go to Vermont. It'd be kind of rad.
Yeah.
And that'd be neat, like just before the leaf peeping season.
It would be.
Anyway, that's cool. I was definitely had a little bit of FOMO missing the event just because, I haven't been to a forenoon cup because I live in the wrong part of the country, which I guess is my fault. But I need to start doing something here. Beyond just the big rally that we're planning, I need to do something for local friends here. Do the Forenoon Cup West. Just haven't really done it yet. So,
Yep.
we'll get there. I did plan because we're coming into the hot season here, and nighttime is the best time to do things here in the hot season. So there's going to be a small local group that's doing probably once a month, 24-hour coffee shops at like literally like midnight to 2 a.m. on a Saturday. So
Yeah, it's also weird. There's so much 24-hour stuff out there.
there's a lot less than there was pre-pandemic. But there's a few.
The 24-hour part stores. That just blew my mind.
Yeah, it's cool. It's convenient. But yeah, there's a couple of 24-hour coffee shops that are dotted around the valley. So we're going to be doing some nighttime, like, small gatherings with just friends. But yeah, Forenoon Cup seems so much fun. I got to build something out here the same. Just haven't gotten there yet. I look forward to seeing more pictures. I haven't seen many photos yet. Were there many pictures taken or?
I think that's about it. I forgot my 50 mil filter.
Okay.
So I don't know.
I was hoping to see more pictures of the Fulvia because I love a good Fulvia.
Oh, yeah.
But it's fine. You don't love the rest of us. You kept it all for yourself. Which is also okay. Out here, I was invited to a member day at Radford Raceway. So,
Oh, member day.
yeah, I need to have a conversation about this whole thing here with you. I've been spending some time with a person who has cars that are outside of our norm. But there's an important ingredient that makes it okay. So you and I have always said this is never going to be like a supercar podcast, right? We're never going to have conversations about the newest McLaren.
Yeah, supercar Brad.
Yeah, definitely not me. But every now and again, somebody comes along who has cars that are well outside of your normal purview, but is an authentic enough car person that it doesn't matter. And I think, Forenoon Cup, aforementioned Tom, is one of those men. He has a Ferrari as well. But this is a very similar situation where Michael, who runs Italian Design and Racing, it's _ IDR87 on Instagram, is a genuine, authentic car person, which above all else, transcends whatever kind of car you're driving. And that's one of those things that you don't normally see with the supercar owners. Like if you go to a Cars and Coffee that's all McLarens and new Lamborghinis and all that stuff, it's just people chasing clout, right? It's people that just want to have the latest, greatest, flexing on everybody else, trying to be the coolest guy in town. When you have people that have expensive cars but are authentic, genuine people, are authentic, genuine car people, they spend their money on more obscure, weird stuff. So Michael, because he runs an Italian car maintenance, repair, race / custom build shop, has a pretty wide variety of things. And I'm sure if you saw my Instagram post, he has a pair, actually he has 3 550 Maranello race cars that he just imported into the States a few months ago. So he's been going through them for the past few months to get them ready to go on track. And he was invited out to the member day at Radford. It's a new membership program I think they have out there. It hasn't been around very long. There's not a ton of members yet. They're still like recruiting new members because Radford they don't do like open track days there. It's a racing school, but it sounds like if you're a membership, part of the membership there, you can go and do, open lap days for a shakedown or for whatever.
Is it a podcast discount?
Yeah, right. Well, the membership I think is well over $5,000 a year, so I'm already out. But anyway, so he was invited out there, and he invited Josh and I to tag along. And it was the first time 2 of the 550 Maranellos have been on track since they've been in the States. Whoa. So it was super cool to be there for that. He drove one, and one of the instructors from Radford drove the other one. They obviously they didn't go out there and run them at 10/10ths. They were just going out to get some shakedown, make sure that they could run a couple laps, at 1/10 and make sure they wouldn't overheat or fall apart. Because, up to this point, he's only driven them on and off a truck and around the shop and all that stuff. So they went out there and, I'd say they probably went, 5/10 by the end of the session. Made sure they weren't going to fall apart and overheat and whatnot. Gave them a couple of good pulls down the front stretch, but super cool to see them out on track. One of them is built to pretty much the same spec as the ProDrive car. But unlike the ProDrive car, it started as a street car and was converted by a shop in Italy, not built by ProDrive, obviously. But I think he was saying that one of them has panels on it that might have some come from a ProDrive team. I don't want to say that without being sure. So something along those lines. But anyway, they're super cool Italian built Ferrari race cars and not something you see every day. And certainly not a typical like supercar owner's supercar. I don't even have words to describe being around these cars because it's so outside of the norm for us, and just kind of being there in the pits and being right next to these cars and having the opportunity to walk around them and take pictures of them and touch them and help him do things with them. Like it's a cool opportunity to be part of. And opening my mind up a little bit to some of the more expensive cars, only because of the authenticity of the owner of these cars. So I think that's something we could probably do a whole podcast about, just how to be a proper authentic car owner, right? Like, don't be a jerk, just be cool about it and understand that other people want to appreciate your stuff without being like impressed by you, even though they're impressed by the car. Like, I don't know how to properly say what I'm saying, but what I'm saying is I'm justifying my hating on supercars forever and then spending a weekend around Ferraris and being like, oh, guess what I did? I spent a weekend around Ferraris. So it was very cool, and I look forward to some future events with said
Next
Ferrari
up,
and
$50 Off Topic t-shirts.
yeah, that's not going to happen. That takes us out of the authenticity, right? Where we are trying to be ourselves. We do this because we love it, and I think that's the most authentic thing you can be. And Michael at IDR does this because he loves it. You know,
We need money for our Ferraris.
yeah, God, that T-shirt is the worst T-shirt. Need money for Porsche. Yeah,
So cheesy.
it's the worst. And that T-shirt is $50.
Yeah.
Ugh. Anyway, yeah. So I had a great time. It was cool it was weird being at Radford without anybody else really being there. It was only the two Ferraris, one of the instructors who was there, because in order to run on the track, you had to have an instructor there. One of the instructors that was there rolled up in a GT3 RS and did a couple of laps. So that was cool to see you around. And there was a person there who was transitioning from driving go-karts to driving a Spec Miata, and is a member there. So was there doing some practice laps in a Spec Miata. So that was kind of neat to see as well. But yeah, it's definitely outside of my norm, but you have to kind of go outside your norm sometimes, right, in order to experience new things. So spent all weekend working on Mitsubishis, ended it photographing Ferraris. So I can't really ask for a better automotive weekend than that. So, and Ferraris on track, not like new Ferraris sitting at a car show. Like,
Right.
super cool race car Ferraris. So, and no matter what your thoughts are on supercars, you can't deny they sound good, and race car versions sound better.
Oh, yeah.
So 550 Maranellos are front engine V12 cars. I mean, that's, if I were to buy a Ferrari, you know, a 550 Maranello is high on my list of favorites. So,
Well, it's funny because I got to see Tom's 456.
oh, excellent. Speaking of front engine Ferraris,
Yeah.
very cool car too.
And it's not red, which is cool.
That's silver, right?
Yeah. It has a red interior. It's very
Yep.
cool.
Yeah, so
It's a very cool color combo. Underrated.
It is subtle for a subtle Ferrari. Yeah, the three Ferrari race cars are, one is a bright red, one is a bright green, and one is a bright yellow. So I think that both the yellow and green are for sale technically, and the red one he's gonna keep.
I learned talking to him. It's very similar to the BMW V12 cars, where it's
is
got
it?
two of everything.
Okay, just doubled up two throttle bodies,
Yep, two throttle bodies, two ECUs. Like,
interesting.
so double the complication.
Yeah, double the things to break. So, anyway, yeah, look, there'll be some more Ferrari content coming out on the Auto Off Topic pages, but don't worry. We're not changing style here at all. We're going to continue to do our old garbage. I mean, these are essentially old garbage of Ferraris, and I say that with the utmost respect. They are.
My Volvo was Ferrari red.
There you go. If you want to call it that.
Sure. I don't know what kind of red it is, but it looks like a Ferrari red.
It's bright red. It's red. It's about like
Norse red.
Yeah. Yeah, there'll be a little bit more Ferrari content, but it will always be vintage Ferraris, much like all of our content is vintage stuff. You know, pretty much, I'd say most of our stuff is like 2005 and older, right? That seems to be,
Yeah.
that seems to be where we're at, except for dailies. Most everything we talk about is 05 and older. No, that's at this point almost 20 years old, 19 years old. Oof. Scary times. But anyway, yeah, so I did Ferrari things and had a good time. And I've posted pictures of stuff from his shop before, but there'll be some other stuff probably in the future. But he does a lot of 308, a lot of 328 stuff. Now some 550 stuff and some even older stuff. So they're finishing up a kit car Lancia. Yep. The wedge car, Stratus. So,
Oh, cool.
yeah, that'll be neat to see finished up as well. So anyway, yeah, more updates to come there. So finally today, we're going a little long in this episode because a lot of stuff happened. Mustang progress, sort of.
Yeah.
We spoke with a friend of ours who does body work, and he asked us to wire wheel the rust spots under the hood of the Mustang. And so we did that, cleaned out all the excess rust, used some of that rust converter on it just to kind of get it back to metal. And he came by last night to kind of go over everything. And it sounds like next weekend or the weekend after, he's going to come out and do all of the rust repair for us. So
Nice.
That's the next step that's holding us up. So once that step is done, we can go ahead and paint the engine bay and then install an engine. So
You went in like a week. You got rid of 2 non-runners out of your driveway.
I only worked on one car. Oh, your car. Yep, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got rid of my car and you fixed the Eclipse. So
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
yeah. Now you get the Mustang going.
Mustang going, and then Mercure gone.
You're getting through them.
Yeah. So the only things that don't run now, other than the Mustang, are the Toyota truck and the 81 Cressida. So everything else will, at minimum, at least, run and drive around the yard. So those 2 vehicles are the last 2 in the yard for that reason. So the next project here is the radiator in the Starion. I'm not going the universal route. I also, thanks to Josh, he has a deal with a guy here that does the factory Montero radiators. And since this radiator is essentially the same, he's going to take care of that for me as well. So that's going to cost even less than buying the universal fitment one. And obviously it's better than universal fitment. So he's going to be able to take that out.
Just a radiator shop?
Yep. Yeah, he's going to take it out and recore it. So
yeah, I gotta figure that out with the Volvo, because it clearly, when the repaint was done, they just like masked off the engine and then painted everything in the engine bay.
It looks like they
red.
more than did that. It looks like they actually took out components and painted them red.
Yeah,
Because
I don't
like
know.
the brake booster is red all the way around, and if it was just left there, that wouldn't be the case.
Yeah,
So
it's weird, but the brake lines are painted red too. It's
yeah, but also all the way around.
yeah, it's
Like
strange.
it looks like it was done on purpose. Like there were some questionable choices made during this car's life, but all of those choices led it to be a much more inexpensive 2-door 142 for you. So
Yeah, because I don't know who does radiators around here anymore. And I was like, well, I could run that flush kit and then maybe pull the radiator when I'm done and like use citrus strip to get the red paint off.
I had a
and
place
just hit it with
last time I was there working on cars that did it. Was in Woburn.
Rogers Radiator. I don't know if they're still there. When was the last time you did that?
I did the blue Colt right before it came out here, and I've done the yellow Colt.
Yeah, that's 5 years ago.
I did the yellow Colt after I was here, though. I don't know. I'll have to look it up, but nonetheless, not worried about it.
I'll see if I can find a place to do it. I just want it because they're new ones are expensive. That one's fine, seemingly, but it would be better if it wasn't painted over with automotive paint.
Correct. Yeah, it's red, right?
Yeah.
Is what it is. I mean, we don't know if it works or doesn't work anyway, so gotta get the car running first.
Yep, exactly. See if it runs, if it leaks. Even if it doesn't leak, it feels like it wouldn't be very efficient the way it is. So, but anyway, yeah, a lot of stuff done. Huge product car updates. There should be more coming.
Yeah, no, I'm not stopping. So, and then I'll be out there and hopefully play Volvo things while I'm there. So,
yeah, we'll see. That's a couple weeks. Yeah, coming up, we're going to be at the Indy 500
Sure.
with some other friends. If you want to go to the Indy 500, I don't know if you can still get tickets, but we'll be there. You can meet us there.
Yep.
You just message us. We'll be at the
Come
Indy
say hi.
500.
Yeah. We'll be in the middle of the country.
Yep.
So yeah, no, I'm stoked for the trip. So it should be a good time because I'm doing a little bit of a mini trip before it with Naomi and doing some touristy stuff, and then I'm coming to Boston afterwards to hopefully do a bunch more work on the Yellow Colt. I have a brand new carburetor there for it. A brand new adapter kit, carburetor, and hopefully we can make this thing run. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Then you get our buddy Doran and ship it back.
Yeah. That, the NSU, the Camaro. So.
All right. Anything else?
No. I mean, there's some progress in the garage front here, but not enough to talk about. So we'll save that as a teaser.
Yeah. So, as always, go follow us on Facebook, Auto Off Topic Podcast, but mostly on Instagram. That's where the best stuff is. Auto Off Topic on Instagram. Don't really post too much on the Auto Off Topic account on Threads, but it is there if you want to follow it.
It is.
I've been playing around on Threads and Raced in Anger.
Yeah,
and,
every time I get like a reminder that or a notification that you post something, I'm like, oh yeah, that exists. So I go in there and
It's not bad.
And I'm active
It's
for
some good
a
car
day or
stuff.
two, and then I forget.
But best place Instagram. It's kind of where we hang out.
Yep. Well,
So,
best place is Discord.
kind of our sweet spot. Yeah, and Discord.
Yeah.
Join the Discord. I think we've had a couple new people join.
Yep.
Just message us, and you can just come hang out. Doesn't matter. So, where can they find you, Brad?
They can find me on Instagram at TSISS350 and also at Threads at the same. So that's the typical stuff.
Scale Autocast.
Scale Autocasts, if I ever post there again, which I intend to. I have a stack of things
Yep.
here that I'm ready to photograph.
too.
Just haven't done yet. So I'm
Working
staring
on real
at
cars.
a Tarmac Evolution 6 Rally of Canberra, Advan sponsored Evo that I recently got to take pictures of and just haven't done it yet. So it's
Yeah.
sitting here in front of me next to a Javelin pace car from the Pikes Peak Hill Climb in like 71, or official car of. There's all kinds of stuff sitting here waiting to get pictures of. So just haven't done it yet. Too busy doing real car stuff.
All right, cool.
Also,
So,
I promised I
keep
wouldn't
yours in.
post.
What's
I promised myself I wouldn't post anything on Scale Autocast until I post up the results of the build off that I haven't done yet from months ago.
Okay. Why don't you go do that?
Yeah, I know. Life.
All right, cool. As always, keep cars analog and aim for roses.